Time now for our Life and Info segment where we focus on information that should be useful for you in your everyday life. Today we're going to talk about the increasing number of guest houses in South Korea. For that, we have our Kan Hyeong in the studio to tell us more about what kind of experience we can expect if we stay at one of these guest houses. So Hyeong, why are guest houses and hostels and whatnot becoming so much more popular here in South Korea?
Well, Mark, one thing that travelers find attractive about guest houses is that they're cheaper than hotels. While hotel prices vary depending on their star ratings, staying at a guest house only costs about $20 per person per night. The price range is generally around that number, but considering how cheap they are, the facilities and locations of the guest houses are top-notch. Unless you book a private room, you will have to use shared showers and toilets, but they're kept in clean condition with towels, cleansing items, and dryers provided, of course. Many guest houses also offer individual lockers with a lock, so you don't have to worry about losing your items while you're traveling during the day. Plus, they're located near popular tourist attractions or in the middle of downtown areas, meaning that you can get to places easily.
Yeah, I live near Hongdae and they are popping up all over the place, guest houses in that area. That's very popular with young people, of course, so the travelers flock there. And plus, there's the new airport subway line that's in Hongdae, connects to Incheon and Gimpo airports as well. So they're cheap to stay at. They're usually in very good places as well in the country. And did you get to meet any of these travelers then who are staying at these guest houses?
Yes, indeed. So I've been to 7 guest houses so far, 5 for my personal trips and 2 for this report.
Okay.
And I got to talk to some of the foreigners who stayed at a guest house and asked them how they felt. Let's take a listen.
But for me, it took less than 1 day to be accustomed to this place because, the guys here were so welcoming. Also the guests, but the guys who are here. It felt like being home while not being home.
So what is good in this place is that even though you share a room with at least 10 people or 8, you have your own private space and you feel safe and at the same time really comfortable because you don't have to look at other people living, so it's really good.
Okay, well, it's interesting what that woman there said about the private space you can get in these guest houses as well. The last time I stayed in any kind of guest house was back in 2002, but I've never stayed in one here in Korea, but I'd like to one time. But tell us more about this private space you can get if you don't want to stay in one of these dormitories.
So they're technically in a dormitory style. They're called capsule or cubic rooms. But before I get into that, let me give you a brief rundown of the normal style. So there are dormitories, family rooms, and private rooms at a typical guest house. So a dormitory style usually offers bunk beds and can accommodate as many people as it has beds. But from what I found, the capacity is often between 4 and 12.
And Hyung-woo, those are the rooms you're probably going to pay around $20 a night for, right? Rather than the private or family rooms.
Yes, they're about $20 per night per person. But on the weekends, they can be a little more expensive.
Okay.
So family rooms have 2 beds that can take up to 4 people and come with a small living room and private bathroom. Private rooms are usually for 2 people, and they're similar to family rooms but smaller. And about the capsule rooms or cubic rooms that that the lady was talking about, they're designed to accommodate as many people as possible by maximizing the rooms, the number of beds that's in the room, and minimizing the extra space.
Okay, so they have a little bit of something for everyone. If you have only a small amount of money available, you can stay in one of the bigger dorms, but if you have a bit more money to splash out, or you don't really feel like mingling too much with other people, you can get the private room as well. But if you go to these guest houses, you really are going to meet different people from all over the world, right?
Of course, Mark, you're always right. It's not only that travelers staying at a guest house have opportunities to meet other visitors, but also some places have common areas for them to mingle with each other, as you said, including a rooftop. Some guest houses organize their own barbecue parties and give advance notice through social media, so people who are planning to stay there can decide whether they want to join the party. There are also spontaneous get-togethers led by travelers themselves, so a few hellos here and there in the dormitory has a chance to become a full house party.
Yeah, we have a couple of guest houses near our house, and from time to time it does get a little bit rowdy at night time, but they're usually pretty good at keeping the noise down past midnight or something like that, because a lot of the time these guest houses are in more residential areas because the value of the land is cheaper, therefore they can provide the rooms for cheaper as well. But it does sound like a lot of fun. I wish I could go back to my youth and try it again. But before we let you go, is there anything else you want to tell our viewers out there about the guest house experience overall?
I would say definitely explore your options before you decide which place you want to stay at.
Yeah.
According to the Korea Tourism Organization's research in 2015, there are about 1,600 guest houses in Seoul, Busan, and Jeju Island alone. But that number did not count some of the unregistered ones. So experts say there are probably a lot more guest houses in South Korea than the number suggests. So if you search for a guest house in South Korea, I would definitely recommend comparing reviews on different booking websites.
Always sound advice from you, Hyung-woo, and yes, it goes without saying that you should check what other people are saying about guest houses, hotels. Pretty much everywhere you go, there's plenty of information online these days. Hyung-woo, thank you as always for coming in, and we appreciate your report. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
And now we're going to take a look at some cultural events coming up here in South Korea.